Hey folks, we started Super Conscious Mastermind and together, and we're working through it all at reasonably aligned pace. And I was circling back like I typically do to connect because lately it's been kind of a really intense creative flurry, if you will, and kind of zoned out and uh, in so many ways, just trying to get everything together so that you could present stuff. And I re-listened to FreQ 22 because I had gone through the 7 days, and then I went back and I was grateful to hear the shares from everybody. I've been listening to them slowly, and I need to probably respond uh, more directly to all of them. They're all very unique experiences and very high energy. And I just wanted to say that the divine human beings that are working this together are truly special. I mean, there's some very deep stuff, but one of the things that happened when I circled back to catch up on the free keys was I rolled into free key 22 again, and I I realized that I may have not actually done what was instructed by Zero, which may sound silly, because I still did free keys, right? But apparently, the part that I missed was the meditation before each recording. Now, I did a brief one along the lines of, hey, Zero, help me do what I'm about to do for the highest good or higher. Um, and and that's become really important to me lately, folks. I think this manifestation, self-care, awareness of your 0 point is really, really important as we do these things. I know some of you have been there since SCM 1. I joined at SCM 1.5. Um, did all the 111 days, and now I'm doing SCMM, but it's like these cycles never end. But what I will say is when you'll find yourself in these awkward situations when you realize that things are clicking in a way that you need to be careful about what you wish for, and cough included, because uh, you'll pull it in. Uh, so the concept of 0 point becomes a lot more important. And I think, let's just call it, the campaign of joy began in earnest with me early in November, when I realized that, yeah, engaging shadow, etc., is important to capturing the message. And But likewise, it's really important that we rest, we spend time, and we realize that, even the simplest things make us so present in our life. And really, what you're experiencing with me now is me trying to do what FreQ 22 said, which is just let all the frequency out. So some of this may probably air on nonsensical, and I don't know how long this will be. There is a part of me, my ego says, "Oh my God, Paul, if you just spoke until you let it all out, it would be the longest freaking recording on the planet." But anyway, that said, uh, so we will likely try to break this up. But I think I'm going to redo the assignment for 7 days, and this time actually use the meditation beforehand because there is one thing that I thought of almost immediately, but I was making coffee, so I finished that. Of course, that's important. But I just want to talk about the uh, the wisdom of butterflies and and how they show up in your journey and why they were important to me. I mean, I have a story about how a butterfly showed me the way home. Even in modern times, you can find yourself in the most odd situations. But as I've been doing this walkabout pretty regularly for months and months and months now, I'm a shadow of my former self to the tune of 70 or 80 pounds or so. So, it's taken a good 2 years, but very recently I became aware of all the little creatures that followed me. And I was told by one of my guides that it's important to thank them, particularly butterflies and dragonflies, etc., because and others, but every time they come by or float by, if you're receptive and you acknowledge them, they download codes. And I mean, big things come in from little packages. I mean, these are like really dense codes. And I've been thanking butterflies and dragonflies and wasps and ants pretty regularly for the last few months. It's just, they'll flitter by and I'll just say thank you for the codes and not really not really think too deeply about it, but I know there was something there, right? But one of these days I was out journeying, and I'm in North Houston, so it's not really the wilderness, but you can find yourself on the beaten path, and so I found a new path, and I'm walking, and I come out of the woods, and I startled this young lady, and she's walking two dogs, and there was this husky and a little pug, and the little pug was all excited to see me, and so I petted them, and they were wet and stuff, and the the lady goes, "Oh my God, I was hoping that you wouldn't pet them." She goes, "Because the other one just peed on their head," and I just petted the little pug and said, "Well, that's okay. What's a little pee between friends, right?" And because we are kind of in the middle of nowhere, she's walking her two dogs, and I'm the guy that just came out of the woods on the side. I said something like, "Hey, you have a great morning, and I'm going to take the path off to the left." Because I knew there was a path, right? And you guys sitting there going, "Well, what the hell does this have to do with butterflies?" 'Cause now you got piss on your hands. But it's like, no, it was more than that because the truth is I took the path to the left. And what I didn't know was that path to the left was actually a set of engineered drainage ditches for the reservoir. And so I get into this thing and there's shrubbery all around and I'm enjoying things, right? It's beautiful. I'm finding deer, I'm finding birds, but I'm really not paying attention and I'm losing track of how many times I've turned and things like that. And it's like, and I'm in the middle of nowhere, and then all of a sudden I look up and there's like two uh hawks in flight, and I just saw my second set of deer family, and then I keep noticing that I keep running into water. And so it's like, okay. And and then the next thing I know is I look at my water bottle and I got about two-thirds of a water bottle and I had lost track of time, right? Because I'm just enjoying myself. It happens. And then I notice, oh crap, my phone's dead. And it's like, shit, what am I going to do now? Normally, I would use my GPS to get me the hell out of wherever the hell I am. And it's like, okay. So, it just reminded me of this time when I was a boy and I'd walked into the woods and I'd gone too far from the road. And then you get in there and it's like all the trees look the same. And it's like, oh my, it was kind of freaky. And so I'm walking. I say, okay, so I just remembered that moment in time when I was a boy. I just kept walking in one direction. So I turned around and I started walking in one direction, going, okay, you've really done something stupid now. So what do you do? What do you do? And I was walking along, and there was this butterfly that had been hanging out with me, and I'd been thanking him along the way, you know, because they've been kind of hanging with me, and so I noticed that they were there still. And I said, "Hey, do you know where the hell I am? And can you help me figure out the way out of here?" And they just kind of, flittered off and kind of went one way, and then they happened to point themselves to a a little cove where I finally could see through the trees, and there was this cell tower off in the distance. I said, "Okay, now I have a focal point. I can try to get out of here without hitting water." Because I was essentially in the middle of the reservoir. Uh, and so, anyway, I know it was silly, and I probably wasn't in much danger because it wasn't raining, thankfully. But even then, I probably had time. And the good news is I can swim. But um, it was kind of getting frustrating because I kind of knew where I was. I could hear. So I have this one particular part of my trek where I kind of knew that my waterfall was there, if you will. It's a man-made waterfall, but I could hear it, and it was annoying. I could hear it, but I couldn't see it. And every time I tried to walk towards it, it was like thick brush, etc. And I'm going, really thick. And I'm going, there's probably some things inside this underbrush that I don't want to tangle with. So I was really grateful my butterfly came along and just kind of just, told me just go this way. And they were right in general. I tried to go against them because I heard my waterfall, nearby two times, duh, stubborn ego, right? I'm not going to pay attention to the butterfly that drops the code. Hey, dude, you got to go this way, you know. Um, but anyway, you know, I just wanted to thank that butterfly, if because they were there, they were listening, and they helped, and even if there's no real scientific explanation as to why I believe what I believe, other than the fact that I believe it, I'm perfectly happy with it. So just pay attention to butterflies, um, because they always have a lot to say. And I think with that, we will close this freaky 22 number 8, or maybe we should call it number 1 redo. Anyway, namaste, folks, for the good of all and harm of none.